for today's executive meeting. We have apologies from Councillor Ian Cottingham, and I think Councillor Vicky Poole will come on screen. I think you're there probably. Yeah, hi there. Councillor Marsh on screen and one other on screen. Sadie. Right, so that's two on screen. Thank you. The minutes are on pages 7 to 12. Are members willing to accept the minutes as they see them there? Do I have a proposer to accept the minutes, please? Councillor Denise Gaines, the seconder, to Councillor Stuart Gawley. All those in favour of accepting the minutes, please show. Thank you very much indeed. Declarations of interest, members. Are there any declarations of interest and items pertaining to on the agenda? None. Thank you. So public questions. Thank you to all members of the public who submitted questions for this evening's meeting. Welcome those in attendance. Some are on Zoom or expected on Zoom. I think that certainly one person has said we would not be attending, and will send written answers. The question will appear on screen and be answered by the relevant portfolio holder. You then begin the opportunity to ask a supplementary question that must be to clarify the response provided rather than any new business. Now, the time limit for public questions is restricted to 30 minutes. If your question has not been answered but in that time, you'll receive a written response within 5 clear working days of the meeting. I will say to the members of the public who've asked questions, you seem to have caught up. We didn't get so many in the last executive meeting, perhaps the one before that, or the council meeting, and they've come back with a vengeance tonight. I think there's 31 from the public, and probably more with Mrs. May, who's not in attendance. Now that's okay, but 30 minutes will be observed, because I think even if I made it an hour, I might struggle to get through all of the questions. And the clock hasn't started yet while I'm talking. It might be worth the public thinking, because you come here and if you don't get your question answered because with time, it seems a shame. It might be worth asking yourselves, do I need to ask this question in public? And if you wish to, it's within the Constitution, you can. But if it can be answered just directly by emailing the question to a portfolio holder member, happy to do that as well. So that's one way of maybe managing the volume of them. The other one is that I am introducing a leaders' question and answer session on Zoom Teams every other month. And that'll be an hour. I'd prefer most of those questions to be in advance, but there'll be supplementaries on that. So we're looking at other routes to get questions in and sort of manage them better so that people get what they want and what they feel they need, but we don't end up with a situation tonight, or we perhaps try not to, where we're not going to get through them all. So that's a long-winded way of saying there's other ways of asking us questions. My first one up, if Mr. Lee Allen is on Zoom, is to Councillor Stuart Gawley, and he's now on screen. Do we know that Mr. Allen, yep, he is in the... Okay, Mr. Allen, we're putting your question now, sir, to Councillor Gawley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Allen, for your question. Flood risk investment will be prioritised in locations where the impact of flooding has been the greatest. There are examples of both rural and urban communities that have had been severely impacted by flooding, and these feature in the Council's Flood and Drainage Works programme, which will be taken forward this year. Do you have a supplementary question at all?
Have you heard that, Mr. Allen? And it's with you, sir, as to whether you have a follow-up question. I hope you heard that, Mr. Allen, and it is with you, sir, as to whether you have a follow-up question. Okay, asked and answered, and moving on.
Sorry, my Zoom was playing up. Terribly sorry about that. I do have a supplementary question.
Go for it, sir, please.
Yes. I'm sure the councillor can understand apprehension at the council's words, as Great Shefford had to wait a decade after extremely bad flooding in 2014 to be given its anti-flooding infrastructure. So can Councillor Gawley give a rough time when we can expect anti-flooding infrastructure projects to be created?
Yes. Well, no, I can't give you a time because they are severely long projects. And what I would say is that work was also completed in conjunction with the Environment Agency. But unfortunately, the current Labour government have put a freeze on all flood risk funding at the moment. So it's going to become increasingly hard for local authorities such as ourselves to access funding to be able to deliver these larger scale schemes. We've done a lot across the district in flooding and spent millions. And only here locally, in terms of what we can deliver as a council, increased our flood risk budget by almost £1 million for this year.
Thank you. And then thank you, Mr. Allen. I'm on to B, which is Simon Pike, and I believe Ms. Pike is present on Zoom. Simon, are you there, sir?
I am, yes.
Okay, with you, Councillor Gawley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Pike, for the question. Unfortunately, no progress has been made on this project due to the difficulty in delivering a cost-effective and practical access control solution. We've therefore asked officers to focus on priorities that will deliver more effective road safety results. The project remains on the network management works programme and will be taken forward when resources allow.
Do you have a supplementary, Simon Pike?
Yes, thank you. So the local transport plan specifically gives this is a priority to grow the network of safer routes that we will trial locally, providing attractive local routes that support increased recreation and improve quality of life. And of course, as you're aware, this road is barely less than 2 meters wide in many places and has no passing places for almost a kilometre. So it's not a safe road. So will you consider this being a priority under the implementation plan for the local transport plan? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the draft local transport plan is still at consultation. So I would heavily advise putting these comments into the consultation for that, so we can pick that up as we finalise that draft as it makes its way to full council in July. But absolutely happy to take a look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pike. Okay, I understand Paula Saunderson is not necessarily in the Zoom waiting room. Okay, we'll see if she comes on later. Alan, we don't have the lectern tonight for some reason, but anyway, if you come forward and your question will be taken up by Councillor Foote.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alan, for your question. I'm happy to ask officers to send you a copy of the report. Do you have a supplementary question?
Okay, do we have Mr. Garvey in the waiting room on Zoom, Mr. Chiverton? We do. Good evening, Richard. This question to be asked by Councillor Gawley. Over to you, sir.
Is it question E, just to make sure?
It is question E. It is question E.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Garvey. We have a robust procedure for assessing if appropriate households qualify for larger black bin capacity, and requests are considered on a case-by-case basis against our qualifying criteria. Excuse me, wherever practicable, the team will first of all explore with the applicant ways in which they can minimise the amount of waste they produce and to increase the amount of waste they recycle. We currently generate a lot more waste per head than both the regional and national average rate, so the focus should be on generating less waste instead of collecting more waste. Do you have a supplementary?
Neither part of my initial question was answered, so I don't know if I can ask you to ask the question again before I ask my supplementary. Is that possible?
I think I did answer the question, which was that we have a robust procedure for assessing if appropriate households qualify for larger black bin capacity.
Okay, so what is that criteria and how much do the larger size bins cost? Not how much do the residents pay, but how much does it cost the council per unit? It's a very simple question. How do people qualify? What do those bins cost? I mean, I don't understand why you can't answer the question, Mr. Gurley.
I think I Happy to answer that. So there's a number of factors that will come into play, and that is around the number of people in the household, the number of children in nappies, medical conditions, and other extenuating circumstances. With regards to the second half of the question and the second half of the supplementary, I don't have that number to hand, I'm afraid. What I can say is residents do not get charged for a second bin if they're eligible for it, but in lots of other local authorities, they do charge for second bins.
Thank you, Mr.
Could I just, sorry, Jeff, Councillor Brooks, could I just ask that you provide a proper written answer to that question whenever the officers have that information available, please? Thank you.
I don't mind. I'm sure Councillor Gawley may mind. I think the price of the bins may vary depending how many we buy at any one time on a volume basis. So I think that might be a moving feast, Richard. But I don't see any reason not to tell you a sort of basic charge cost of a black bin, not a charge because we don't charge the basic cost. I think that's reasonable. It's not a secret. Okay,
Thank you.
Richard. Thank you. You'll come in again later, I'm sure. F is Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Coming up then, Councillor Foote.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul, for your question. I can confirm that the contract of the award was approved by the Executive on the 6th of July 2023. The report was a Part 2 report and was not publicly available because it contained commercially sensitive information. With reference to your point about a report similar to the redevelopment of the Lido, an updated reporting process had been implemented in July so that when the Lido contract was awarded, there was no comparable report to EX4159. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I do. I find it very frustrating, Nigel, that you're not answering the question. So you have got an EX report for the Lido. You also had an EX report for the Sports Hub, both of which are less in terms of capital expenditure than this one for the Northcroft refurbishment. Why do you not have an EX report that's gone to the Executive for sign-off for the Northcroft Dryside development? It's a simple question. I just don't understand why you guys are not answering. It's not your fault, Nigel, I accept that. But why are the officers not providing a response to my simple question?
I have to confess, I'm not absolutely clear what you're asking. I think that all of these reports are in the public domain, apart from the detail, as we said, that's mentioned in.
Nigel, they're not. They're not. I've asked for the EX report specific to the Lido, to the Northcroft Dryside. Why have you not provided it? It's a simple question. It's
Mr. Morgan,
it has to be.
Okay, so let's be clear. Could you say again what you're expecting to see, sir?
Okay, right. Let me be quite. I first put this question back in February, Jeff. You have reports to the Executive that's been signed off by the Executive for the Lido, which is the EX report, 4159. You also had an EX report for the Sports Hub, right? Which went into great detail about what it was for, the public consultation, how much it was going to cost, etc. My simple question is, where is a similar report for the £5.5 million that you're going to spend on the Northcroft Dryside? Why is there not a report that's been issued for this? I accept this in Part 2 when you dumped Alliance later.
Aspects of it in Part 2, obviously.
No, but that's not the question, Jeff, is it? Come on.
Mr. Morgan,
Where's the original report, Jeff?
Mr. Morgan, this is not a you and me conversation.
I understand. It's frustrating, Jeff, seriously.
Mr. Morgan, I'm about to give you some help here.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Foote and I will go back to the officers. We will refresh our memories about that report, which will have come to Executive, and we will come back to you with its critical path decision, the decision path, okay?
I just want to see a copy of the report, Jeff. So the original report, that's it.
I hear you. I will be in touch.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Okay, Nigel, we'll pick that up. Mr. Allen, you're back in for Stuart Gawley on question H.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for your question, Mr. Lee. Our bulky waste collection charges are reviewed annually to ensure they represent value for money for our customers and reflect the prevailing costs for delivering the service. Current rates compare favourably with those charged in neighbouring authority areas. Next year's rates will be set after review later this year as part of the usual annual budgeting setting process. Do you have a supplementary?
I do, yes. Surely the price should be considered to be lowered, as the current flat £63 for 1 to 5 items encourages practices like fly tipping, as the high price combined with the fact that villages like Lambourne and Great Shefford are so far from the large tips in Hungerford and Newbury that many people suffer from the pressure of garbage build-up in their bins, and surely this would help alleviate that if the price were lowered by the council.
Thank you for the question. What I would say is that fly tipping in West Berkshire is actually reduced over the last few years, and fly tipping is not normally carried out by individual households. It's not something we see. Fly tipping is normally carried out by organised businesses. It's very rare that it is by individual households themselves. So I don't believe that the cost of the bulky waste item is at all linked to fly tipping. But thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Is Mrs. Saunderson arrived at all, Mr. Chiverton? No. Okay, I'm off to Mr. Garvey. No, am I wrong? Question which? All right. Simon Pike, I beg your pardon. Okay. I missed it. Turn the page too quickly. Simon Pike, sir, question I to Councillor Gaines.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Pike. The infrastructure delivery plan that informed the local plan examination is in the process of being updated. It's to align with the implementation of the local plan, should it be adopted. In addition, it will also anticipate that a specific infrastructure plan for the North East Thatcham allocation will accompany the master plan SPD. Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Thank you for that answer. The infrastructure delivery plan describes itself as a living document. So I have to say, given that it hasn't been updated for 2 years, it's been in a very long hibernation. And I'm sure that some changes have been made to the items within it since the Regulation 19 consultation. And indeed, a number of errors were pointed out in the Regulation 19 consultation that have not been corrected. So will the council consider making this this document updated much more frequently so it reflects decisions by the council on infrastructure, and perhaps changing it from a document to an Excel spreadsheet, which is what a number of councils do, which enable it to be updated very easily and frequently as circumstances change?
I will do my utmost to make sure that the infrastructure plan is updated more frequently. I cannot, however, promise that it's going to be on an Excel spreadsheet until I've spoken to officers as to whether that's the best form for the council. Thank you for the question.
Okay, so now I'm over the page and I'm on to Richard Garvey. Question K to Councillor Gawley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Garvey. The development of the waste strategy and consultation was delivered with a focus on achieving a suitably ambitious approach for managing our waste, protecting the environment and obtaining value for money for our council taxpayers. Wherever practicable, the time and expertise of our officers were utilised as part of the strategy development process. We also engaged the services of an expert external technical advisor to ensure that best practice solutions were being considered. This cost in the region of £40,000 over the last 3 years of their services, and relevant expenditure can be found on the West Berkshire website for those costs over £500. Do you have a supplementary?
So just to be clear, you're saying that the new waste strategy in total from starting the process to the end of the process costs £40,000.
Bear in mind, we do not cost officers time. They don't pull out time.
No. Yeah, I understand that, Councillor Brooks. I'm just saying the total cost. The question was, how much did the waste strategy cost to put together? That's the question. So do you have a final number, Councillor Gourley, of the total cost of putting the waste strategy together from scratch?
No, I don't, because I've given you the cost of the consultancy over the last 3 years. As
That was only
Councillor-
part. But
as-
just to be
Councillor
clear,
Brooks-
hold on. Just to be clear. Sorry to speak over you, councillor. Sorry to speak over you, councillor. But just to be clear, my first question wasn't answered. My second question.
Just for a moment. Thank you, Richard. If you could listen just for a moment and let Councillor Gawley finish, and then I'll bring you back in. I'm sorry to have had to do that to you.
So the answer to the question for the consultancy costs was £40,000 over the last 3 years. As Councillor Brooks mentioned, the cost of officer time is not costed into the creation of strategies as it's part of their day job. Thank you.
Come back in, Richard, please. I just want to make sure.
Just so we're clear, I didn't ask for officer time. I asked for the question is right there on the screen. But just to be clear, you didn't answer my first question. You didn't answer my second question. You haven't answered other questions here tonight. What's the point of us asking questions 10 days in advance if you don't provide the answer to the question?
I'm sorry, I was really trying to give you a little bit of latitude there, and you've taken a huge amount, and now you're starting
Apologies, Councillor Brooks, but that's
starting to berate us now. As you know, we do not summate or calculate officer time, and that would have been considerable, wouldn't it, in a waste strategy? We went out for consultants to help us with it, and you've had that figure. I'm not sure what you're looking at in hidden costs, but if you want to contact me and tell me what we're missing, but I do not like this idea of we're ducking questions. We give as comprehensive questions as we reasonably can. I'm moving on. Mr. Morgan, coming into Councillor Foote.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul, for your question. The dry side at Northcroft is capital funded project financed by the council through borrowing. Borrowing is undertaken when financing is required, depending on the council's wider cash flows. The council's average cost of borrowing is at 3.94%. Do you have a supplementary question?
Paul, are you there? Mr. Morgan?
Hold on. Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Got trapped in the unmute sort of situation. Yeah, I'm fully aware, as you know, Nigel, in terms of what borrowing is and how much it costs. My question is specifically where it's short-term loan. Is that the Public Works Loan Board, the short-term loan is at 5 point whatever percent. So can you confirm that £5.4 million has come from the short-term loan from the Public Works Loan Board? Yes or no, really?
Hold on then. I don't know if Shannon Coleman-Slaughter can help on this, because that wouldn't necessarily be something at Councillor Foote's fingertips. It's often within a basket of borrowing. It's not just one particular loan. Paul? Shannon?
I do understand that, Jeff, but I did say on there, funded from reserves, short-term loan, long-term loan, etc. So I'll give you options. So I'm disappointed again. The question's not been answered, Jeff. So.
Oh no, don't be disappointed yet till we disappoint you. Hold on.
Thank you. There will be no specific loan for this project. It will be undertaken as part of the council's wider borrowing at the time. It can be from a combination of loans, so I could not specifically say which loan would fund this, but I can say based on all the short-term borrowing and all the long-term borrowing, the average weighted cost of borrowing throughout the financial year was 3.94%.
Thank you, Paul. I'm moving on back to Mr. Lee Allen with Councillor Stuart Gawley, N. Councillor Gawley?
Yeah, I was just wondering if Mr. Lee was coming back in, so Mr. Allen was coming back in. You are there, cool. I just don't want you to miss it. Dear Mr. Allen, thank you for your question. We're currently consulting on our local transport plan, which is closely linked to the emerging local plan, and details and transport proposals for the district over the next 15 years. The consultation can be found on our website and closes on the 25th of May. So there's still a few days left if you want to respond and put any kind of input into that. It would be great. Thank you. Do you have a supplementary question at all?
Yes, I do, Councillor, and thank you for your response. Given the essential role that rural roads play in connecting isolated communities, supporting local and national economy, and ensuring access to vital services, can this council justify the historic exclusion of these areas from improvement plans? And does the council plan to improve rural infrastructure after this historic exclusion And I will give you the benefit of the doubt, this is not just a Liberal Democrat failure. We saw it a lot under the previous Conservative council as well.
Failure. What failure are you alluding to, Mr. Allen?
Oh, well, the potholes are quite a big one. There's a lot of them in rural areas. There was craters outside of
Pop up to Oxford, pop down to Hampshire if you want to see big potholes. Councillor Gordon.
Happy to take this one, Jeff. So one of the first things the new administration did when we took control back in May 2023 was start to reverse that decline in our roads by changing the definition of our potholes so that we filled on average over 600 more each year. We've also just signed off a highways improvement programme as part of the budget, which invested so much more in our roads that we'll be able to complete double the amount of resurfacing and surface dressing this year than we've ever done before. And that literally does reverse the decline that we've seen over years and years of neglect, as you point out. But rural roads are absolutely not excluded. And you can look on our website. We have a fantastic interactive map now, which shows you where the roads are as part of that highways improvement programme. And there are a significant amount of rural roads because we really appreciate they are the A and B roads that the urban areas utilise. And in fact, we're in the top 10% in the country for unclassified roads. So we do have a good record there. So I hope that allays your concerns and your fears, but I would encourage you to fill out the local transport plan as well. I'm
grateful for the opportunity that we could actually herald to you the amount of money we're putting in and the huge growth in the highway improvement programme and what you will see as you drive round, improvements in our roads in West Berkshire. Councillor Simon Pike to, sorry, he is a councillor actually at Thedram Town Council, to Councillor Denise Gaines.
Thank you for your second question, Councillor Pike. It's rather a long one, so I could actually also put it in writing to you once this evening's over. So the Green Infrastructure Framework was designed to help local planning authorities and developers meet requirements in the National Planning Policy Framework to consider green infrastructure in local plans and in new development. The emerging plan contains several detailed policies regarding green and blue infrastructure, which align with the Natural England's framework. The supporting text of the emerging green infrastructure policy SP10 references the Natural England framework and states that development proposals will be expected to be designed having regard to the Natural England framework. In terms of decision-taking on planning applications, the framework and the accompanying design guide can be a material consideration for relevant applications, but the weight to be given to this is a matter for the decision maker. Do you have a supplementary?
Well, thank you for that. Of course, you're referring to the new local plan, which won't have been material for planning applications up till now. So I'm not expecting you to answer this, but I'd be interested if you're able to give me a few references to officers' recommendations in planning applications which have referred to this green infrastructure framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Garvey, question Q, please. That is also to Councillor Gawley. Yep. Mr. Garvey has you in his sights tonight, it seems, Mr. Gawley.
Yes, well, I'll try to do a better job on this one, Leader. Thanks for your question, Mr. Garvey. I'm not aware of any exemption to the free weekly collection process other than those in flats. So that's a really key point I would like to keep stressing, is it does not affect those with communal bins. They will continue to be serviced under their current arrangements. However, ahead of the proposed collection service change, the council has scheduled a series of communication and stakeholder engagement events to ensure residents are well informed about the reasons for the change and the expected benefits. In addition to using newsletters and social media updates, council officers are also doing a series of community drop-in sessions, such as the ongoing outreach events at local libraries. These communications are not necessarily in response to a petition. The quality of the waste services being delivered in West Berkshire, including the curbside collections and recycling centre provision, are among the best in the country. Residents who need additional support for their waste collections will continue to receive that advice and that assistance from the council to enable them to adjust to that proposed change. And I really would urge residents that when we get to that point, when we make the change, that if they have concerns, to get in touch. It is also worth, again, reiterating that residents who live in flats or share communal bin will not be affected by this change. Do you have a supplementary question?
Forgive me, Councillor, while I picked myself up off the floor. Surprised you actually answered a question this evening. I'm just kidding.
Now that's snarky.
Okay, okay. I apologise, but again, if you go back and listen to the last two answers, I don't believe they were answered. Anyway,
Supplementary, come on.
Supplementary. In response to questions from, I'm sad that Paula's not here this evening because West Berkshire Recycling actually went on to Facebook and answered Paula and a number of other residents saying that they're looking at ways to offer exemptions to people with certain extenuating circumstances. So if the council were to do that, and again, you've said that you're not aware of it. West Berkshire Recycling's Facebook page have said that they are looking at doing that. If you have to send the waste collection vehicles out to, let's say there's a house in every 4 or 5 streets in the district, then all of the savings from reducing the collections would pretty much be gone anyway. So can you provide a written answer in a week or two once you've spoke to whoever runs the West Berkshire Recycling Facebook page and ask them why they've suggested there may be exemptions if there aren't? Thank you.
Yeah, happy to do so. Like I said, perhaps there's a miscommunication or some uncertainty around the overcapacity that I have talked about, where you can get that assistance if you require it. What I would say is it's really key to highlight the fact that this isn't, about efficiency. This isn't about saving money. There are so many more benefits to making this change that are really critical that keep getting overlooked. And I would highlight the fact that this isn't about saving money. It's about being more efficient, but most importantly, increasing our recycling rate and also reducing the tonnage per head of waste generated, where we're in the top 25 worst councils.
Thank you very much. Paul Morgan, on question R, please. Councillor Foot.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul, once again for your question. The leisure contract between the council and everyone active was varied by way of a deed of variation, so that everyone active was responsible for delivering the Northcroft Leisure Centre refurbishment project in consultation with the council. This allowed the project to be delivered in a cost-effective way and made use of everyone active's technical expertise. As a result, the council did not need to undertake a procurement process as it did not award a contract. Do you have a supplementary question?
To do. Nigel, I'm very surprised to hear you say that. As you know, I've been quite critical over the years, not from just this administration, previous one, about the lack of going out to tender for major projects, because it's the right way to do things and you get the right costs and you get the right ideas. So with this Northcroft dry side, you avoided the tender process when you went directly to Alliance Leisure under a framework agreement. That didn't work out and you binned them off. And then you went to Everyone Active, who are the operator management of the leisure centre. This is a capital project.
Can you get to the question, Mr. Morgan, and then we might get one more question in after you, sir.
Jeff, if you didn't interrupt, I would have got there. So this is a massive capital project, £5.4 million. You should have gone out to tender. There's no reason why I can't see why you haven't gone out for tender. Again, I don't think you're using the best process.
Now, I haven't heard a question yet.
Why didn't you go out to tender for everyone when it went wrong with Alliance Leisure? That's my simple question. It's a massive capital project, Jeff.
Answered frankly, but he may want to add something.
Well, Chair, I was just going to say that I believe that's what I answered in the first part of the question. We didn't go out to tender because the council did not award a contract. There was a deed of variation that was applied, and I believe I've answered that question fully. Thank you.
This is capital, not revenue, Nigel. You know the difference.
We get in under the wire with 10 seconds left for the final question in our 30 minutes. Mr. Garvey, to Councillors Gawley again.
Yep. Excellent. Yes, thank you again. Get in the day,
I'll start it, so I'll finish, I think.
I thought it was, we not got the countdown clock. Excellent. Now I've completely lost where I was. So question you, thank you for your question. Yes, whilst the merger proposals are under consideration, they are very much not certain. We do not believe it be appropriate to comment specifically on service provided in named council areas, as it's important to understand the difference between two-tier areas and unitary councils in their waste collection responsibilities. But as a general principle, we are always keen on benchmarking and learning from our peer authorities, as also we expect others to learn from our successes as well. Do you have a supplementary?
I do, and again, thank you for the answer. Although the devolution plans are still very much up in the air, has the council considered sharing services with Whitehorse and South Oxfordshire District Council as part of saving money now? If we're going to work towards a waste strategy in 2 or 3 years' time, if the devolution proposals go to plan, why would we spend money on a waste strategy for the next 2 years and then rip it up again? Only to bring in another. Let me finish. Sorry.
As leader, I'm
Okay.
sort of leading on devolution and local government review, but then Councillor Pemberton is picking up and being involved in that. Look, Richard, it would not be appropriate to go along to the Vale and South Oxford and say, now listen here, we'll start sharing some services, shall we? I think Oxford County Council might have something to say about that. They're the ones who provide a lot of services in conjunction with the Vale and South Oxford. So it ain't as simple as saying, right, let's start working as if we're going to be combined. But the officers are working hard together from the 3 authorities. So, it is moving ahead, but it ain't a slam dunk. And I put it to you that the more effort we put into it, if it does not come off, that unfortunately will be wasted effort. Did you want to come back?
Yeah, I think I would just add to that it's really important to understand the different services that two-tier authorities provide compared to unitary authorities. And there is a significant amount of work to unpick there if the local government reorganisation happens and our proposal is accepted. I would also add to this that this is a 10-year waste strategy. 8-year waste strategy. It takes us out to 2032, where the PFI agreement with Veolia is up for renewal. So I think that's some really important context, that we can't just stop what we're doing. And I'd also highlight that the climate emergency isn't going to hang around and wait for local government reorganisation to happen. So we want to get on, we want to move, we're ambitious and we're bold in what we want to achieve. And that is why we need to crack on now. And we will cross that bridge when we get to it.
Grateful to everybody for those questions. We've gone on for about 35 minutes. There's still several that we haven't answered because of time's run out. And we wouldn't have got that far had Paula Saunderson been on Zoom. But those who weren't in Zoom or in the room will get written answers. There's 1 or 2 supplementaries to come back on to people as well. And we do try to answer a question with a straight answer. Often it's a complicated answer. It ain't that easy an answer. It has to give detail. And sometimes I have to say, there are times when we think, what is the question actually getting at? But we do our best to give straight answers. So, item 5, petitions. Are there any petitions?
No, Chairman.
Thank you. Item 6, the Environment Strategy Annual Progress Report and Environment Strategy 2025 refresh, pages 19 to 128. You're introducing this, Councillor Gawley?
Yep, happy to propose, Leader.
And you're proposing. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Foote. Very good. And you'll introduce a report, if you would, please, Councillor Gawley.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I think we can all agree across this chamber that the climate and ecological crisis is one of, if not the largest challenges of our times. And we all have a part to play in slowing and reversing the impact for our children, their children, and many generations of children to come. Tonight's report has 2 parts to it. An update on where we are after the last 12 months and a refresh of the environment strategy now that we are halfway through our countdown to our 2030 target of being net zero for council operations. Firstly, turning to the annual report, it's fantastic to have delivered so many schemes and projects and initiatives over the year the last year. This has led to a great progress, another year with a reduction in carbon emissions and a 22% reduction since the council baseline was taken in 2019 at 2020. This annual report also highlights the great work that's been going on to help the district to reduce its carbon emissions, encouraging bus usage with free travel days, increasing the number of on-street and off-street EV charging points, and supporting tree planting projects across West Berkshire. Now, turning to the refresh of the environment strategy itself, we've worked to rationalise the strategy around 4 key themes: energy efficiency and renewables, sustainable transport, the natural environment, and waste reduction and recycling. And I think these 4 key themes and associated action plan really work to incorporate the council's commitment to health in all policies, as well as delivering climate and ecological action. I think it's also key to highlight that we have a lot of projects coming through to fruition this year. Graiseley Solar Farm, solar on council assets such as Padworth, schools, libraries, leisure centres, and also decarbonisation activity at our North Cross Leisure Centre, all of which helping to save money for residents and save the environment. We've also many other schemes to plan and deliver, the delivery of more on-street and off-street EV chargers, more active travel links, and working to deliver projects associated to nutrient neutrality in the Lambourne Valley, and also continuing to look at how we manage our roadside verges, amongst many others. However, we are getting to the pointy business end of our target to achieve net zero for council operations by 2030. So it's really important this time around to sharpen our vision and ensure we have the clarity and the plan on how to get there. We didn't have that until recently. We had a target, but we had no path. A number with no context, a set of words on paper. When I took over this portfolio just over a year ago, one of the things I set officers to achieve was our pathway to net zero. I was clear that we have the target, but critically, we need to know if we can actually get there. And then most importantly, how are we going to get there? And officers have delivered that. We have our pathway and we know what work we need to do. We have 5 years left to deliver and we now know it can be done and we know what we need to do. We are the first local authority in the country to map this, crunch the data and provide a list of options on how we can get to net zero by 2030 as a council and provide the best value for money for our residents. So thank you to all of the officers in refreshing the delivery of the strategy and our pathway to net zero, and officers who have been involved in delivering projects all across the council. A lot has been achieved, but there is so much more that we need to do. Sadly, however, we live in a world, and sadly even a country, where the objective of net zero and the threat of climate change itself is at threat, and with that, the planet that we all live on. So we must stand firm in the face of the populist right, the cynics and the naysayers. We must be bold, we must stand our ground, educate and make sure we bring people with us. And we must continue to do this, do what is right for our community and our planet. We must continue to be leaders where others aren't. Finally, I know I've spoken a lot here about the great work that the council has been doing to improve its impact on the environment, but I'd also like to take the time to thank and recognise all of the great work that goes on beyond the council to do the same. The community litter pickers, the voluntary environment groups helping across towns and parishes, the tree planters, the local charitable organisations supporting in partnership, and finally, the individual residents deciding to make a singular change in a habit or a behaviour and doing something differently. Collectively, we can shift the dial and protect our community, our habitat and our environment for years and generations to come. And I really hope that the environment strategy that's before you this evening sets that pathway there on what we can do as a council to achieve across the district, but also as our council operations. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that. Councillor Foote?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Yeah, could I first of all start by thanking my colleague, Councillor Gourley, for all his hard work. I know how hard he has worked on this to drive this policy forward. And I would also echo his thanks to the officer cadre because they have worked very hard as well. And I think in what Councillor Gourley was saying, one of the key things that struck me is that it is possible to reach net zero. It's not an impossible target, and there's nothing wrong in us aspiring to do just that. And I think we've made a really, really good start on that, and I applaud this this policy refresh. And the final thing I'd like to say, Chair, is that, again, it just emphasises our health in all policies aspect. If we can get people a bit more active, That will help their general health, both physical and mental health. And also, of course, we're driving down carbon emissions all the time as well. So I think there's a lot to applaud in this policy, and I'm very happy to second it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments from the executive members? I'll throw it over to Councillor Berwick.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Gurley, for your tub-thumping speech and the presentation of the refresh. I'm pleased to hear about the achievements made over the last year, which are a continue. I'd like to remind you the work that we started back in 2020. So together across the chamber, we've made great success. You claim to be ambitious and bold. I struggle with that a little bit. I've got a specific point that I would like you to clarify for me. The refresh talks about carbon sequestration, which feels a bit like a semantic stunt to me. Can you explain to me how we can be sure that the credits that which I guess is money, that we transfer elsewhere, how can we be sure that it's delivered on? That's one aspect. And how can we be sure that it wouldn't, the actions that would be taken would not have continued without our money?
Yeah, so in terms of the sequestration that contributes to our pathways, that is based on a study undertaken by Future Nature, which is the consultancy arm of BBOUT. It's it's on the total annual carbon sequestration across all of West Berkshire Council's land holdings for the existing established habitat. West Berkshire Council land holdings cover a total of approximately 1,016 hectares, comprising of 1,160 individual sites across the district, includes a range of habitat types. So that is what we have based our sequestration on here in West Berkshire. We don't sequester anywhere else. We've based that on our council assets.
I don't understand who's doing the sequestration.
So sequestration is basically like we have trees on our estate, for example. We have trees around our green spaces. If I remember correctly, they have to be over 30 years old to be able to be counted towards sequestration. And there is a formula, thank you, used to work that out. And I say this study is undertaken by Future Nature, which is the consultancy arm of BBOUT. So it's our natural assets that we hold here in West Berkshire on our open spaces that we have included as part of that sequestration.
Back to you, Councillor Burke.
So the document talks about transfer of credits. Does that mean that we're paying BBOUT? So how do BBOUT benefit from you claiming the sequestration?
We own the land and we lease it to BBOUT to conduct and manage, but that land is West Berkshire Council's asset, and that's what we've included in that sequestration. If you've got more, if there's a deeper question there that I'm not quite getting, I'm happy for you to shoot it over to me and I'll ask the question. Yes. Anyway. Yes. But that's nothing, because trees, they take in carbon dioxide, so therefore reducing carbon dioxide out of the ozone, out of the environment, and they give out oxygen through photosynthesis.
You can't ignore them. They're there and they're part of our environment.
But I'll go back to my first point. This sounds like a semantic stunt.
Well, that's to you. But did you ever? Okay, I've got Councillor Sumner and then Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you for presenting the reports tonight. There's just a few things that I've picked up on that I wanted to mention. Firstly, I would echo the commendation of officers for their hard work, and note that there is now recognition of volunteers, groups and residents. And I direct that towards you, Leader, because you will recall that you and I have had this little conversation several times over meetings. Good to see that you're recognising them up front now. I do take issue with the underlying message of the broad delivery plan. I think we would all accept that this was a very, very new thing for us all to get on board with. I was very supportive and deputy portfolio holder to Councillor Aldo Waters when he was driving it through. And I think it's fair to say we all had a very steep learning curve. And I don't just mean councillors, I mean officers too. What I am impressed by is the level of detail and learning that officers especially have taken on. And that's no disservice to you, sir. But they have created a department which is exceptional in my view, and as you rightly said, is currently leading the way in authorities, and we need to recognise that and we need to beat that drum. School streets, got one in my general area at the moment, another one coming. Safe to say they have a mixed response, but I think absolutely the right thing to do. I would try to drive something through for my local primary, but I think logistically it's just a step too far and it becomes difficult because it's right on a bus route. I'm not messing about with the buses. Wildflower verges, it's a shame to see those stop. I think they've been well received in most areas, especially where there's sort of two tiers of delivery on it, but where historically we as an authority have taken them back to nothing and crafted them especially. They create a wonderful face of the authority and of the district. And it's a shame to see that sort of falling by the wayside, if I'm honest. Yeah, I mean, there is still a long way to go and the time is running out. I do take objection to those that are coming in with absolute discredit of any of the work that's been done, because I've, like you, seen the work that's been done. But yeah, just a few points there that I think are worthy of note.
You want to come back? Or?
Yeah, I think in terms of the delivery plan, I think it's important to realise that they also link into other strategies at a more detailed level, such as local transport plan, waste strategy, for example, where they're kind of partner documents to that. And I think it's important to highlight that there is a lot more detail in those other documents. With regards to the verges, absolutely, it's something we gathered a lot of data on over that initial term, and I think this year is really a case of just taking stock and understanding what we can do differently with them, because I think I'm going to get this wrong with the amount of highways in West Berkshire, but somewhere in the region of 1,000 kilometres of verges across of West Berkshire. So they are a fantastic asset, and we really are looking into how we manage that. And Nigel might be able to, Councillor Foote might be able to comment a bit more on that from the countryside portfolio perspective. But in terms of recognising the volunteers, absolutely. I think it's really important to recognise that we can't do this alone. You know, we can lead the way, and we absolutely are. We've said we've got our pathway, which is the first time we've been able to actually see the wood for the trees and what we need to do as an authority. And I would say that the data is so much better now than what we had. And I completely agree that this is a cross-party thing to look at, and continuing to deliver the great work that we set out in our manifesto and that we want to continue to do, but also taking the learnings from your administration when this was a fairly young concept. So thank you for those comments.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Marsh is on screen.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brooks. Just to emphasise that we in my group and in the Green Party in particular agree with the points that have been made by others. And in fact, actually, Councillor Sumner asked most of the questions I was going to say, particularly about school streets and verges. But I do have one or two specific questions for the portfolio holders. One is, for the year in question that this report covers, 23-24, in addition to successfully proposing an increase in the amount of money that was devoted to wildflower verges and urban trees and similar measures, I also successfully proposed that there should be some money for watering trees in drought conditions, which we were experiencing at that time. I think this is so important because you can plant as many trees as you like. They will die if they're not watered. And at that time, the council hadn't been watering them, so much so that fellow Green councillor had to persuade the fire brigade to water trees in Goldwell Park. But I just wanted to ask you, because we've had a lot of rain, we're almost certainly going to have a drought, and if not this summer, next summer, and is the council still able to deal with that by watering, because otherwise you're wasting the money on planting them? Councillor Sumner has already made the point about wild verges. I do think it's really important, because this is one of those measures at a time when in some sections of the public a bit of climate change scepticism seems to be returning, very disappointingly, fomented by some politicians, though no one in this council at a time. But one thing that the public do seem to love is the wildflower verges, and they're great for nature and very popular. So it would be really welcome by everyone in West Berkshire if this administration were to follow the previous one, which with a bit of encouragement from us did spend a lot more money on these. Two other questions. One is simply about, I did ask this at the full council, but the solar panels at Graiseley, which we all support, is taking an awful long time, it feels to people, and these questions are being asked as to, have you got any idea of when we might expect to see this coming on stream? And then my final point is about planning. So it would seem that the current government has, if anything, declared war on the natural world. It's very, very, very saddening to see this. And they seem to be saying it's all the fault of bats and newts that there aren't enough houses to go around. This is rubbish. And I just wondered if the council has a robust plan to try to counter the Labour government's assault on the natural world through the planning system. Is probably not a matter specifically for this report, but it's something that relates to it, because if a free-for-all in planning were to happen, that would be very damaging to the aims that you've expressed in this excellent report. And those are the points I wish to make and the questions I would ask. Thank you very much, Councillor Brooks.
Quite a few there. I saw you noting them down.
Yeah. So on the drought question, I will check with officers. I don't have the answer to hand. I would like to hope that we've got some provision in there, but I've absolutely will check. One of the thoughts that sprung into my mind was the rain gardens at Faraday Road are fairly newly planted, and I would hate for them to have some issues. On the wildflower verges, yeah, absolutely hear that. Actually, Councillor Foote might have some more info in a bit, but what I would say is I've seen an awful lot of self-seeding this year up and around the district, and it is great to see them, and there are some fantastic looking verges despite not necessarily focusing on them this year. In terms of Graiseley, it is at procurement. We are committed to delivering this. And as soon as I have a timeline to be able to share, believe me, I absolutely will, because it is an absolutely cracking project that we have really looked to maximise and build on the initial plan that was laid out by the previous administration. And we are going big, and we're going to make it really, really worthwhile, and also include lots of biodiversity on that site as well as alongside the solar itself, and that will save money for the residents and also help to save the environment. In terms of planning, what I would say is obviously we've got the draft local plan coming through. Whilst I think this administration has been very clear that we don't agree with all of that local plan, I think what is safe to say is that we do agree with the environmental elements of that plan and believe they are robust and will protect us. Also important to note that we also have the BNG framework and legislation in place now, where the net gain has to be delivered on site, sort of very local. So there are definitely some good strands within the legislation there to help protect us.
Very grateful. Councillor Foote.
Thank you.
You had a point of explanation.
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much. Just a few points, really, just to mention. My colleague, Councillor Gourley, was very close. I believe we have 1,200 kilometres of rural roads in the district. Now, if you multiply that by 2 for grass verges on either side, there's a lot of carbon sequestration that can be done there. And it's just to inform everybody that our ground maintenance contractors now I meet with them fairly regularly. Initially, because the weather's been favourable this spring, it's been very dry, as we all know, they've been able to get ahead of the cutting programme. And what they do is just take the very top off the dandelions and things so they can reseed and come again, as it were. So they are looking very hard at not cutting everything right back, but being sensible in how they do their construction, their management of the grass verges. The other thing I would just briefly say is, again, I would echo what Councillor Sumner said about the value of our volunteers and the community involvement in this, because it really is a virtuous circle, because the benefits, the mental health benefits to volunteers in helping to manage our beautiful environment we're lucky enough to have in West Berkshire is incalculable almost, and it does help to that health in all policies that we try and implement. So that's all I had to say, Chair. Thank you.
Before I go to the vote, since it is a public meeting, I feel bound as the chair of the Royal Berkshire Fire Service to say it's not a policy for our appliances to go around watering trees in case the public pick it up and start phoning up the fire station saying, can you come and water my garden? It's not really a policy. So
could I just say, Councillor Brooks, it was incorporated into a training exercise. So actually it was something that they needed to do anyway. So it was very convenient that they were able to.
It's helpful for you to clarify that.
Yes,
that they didn't just poodle out and water his flowers or the tree. Moving on. What we've got to agree now is to note the annual progress report on the environment strategy and agree its publication on the council website, and to approve the environment strategy 2025 refresh and agree its publication on the council website, including the associated delivery plan. Members, do I have agreement for so to do? Thank you very much indeed. That item is done. And we move on to the next item, which is the one on the LGA peer review, corporate peer challenge, page 129 of your paperwork of the agenda. I will introduce this. Members will recall that we had corporate peer challenge in January actually it was about February 24, and they revisited in January 25 of this year. What they did, they put their lens on us again and they said, right, we gave you at least a dozen recommendations. You can see those recommendations. There were 11 actually, page 132, 133. And how have you done against them? Now, 5.4 tells us the progress review report notes, this is the one they did in January of this year. 2/3 of these actions have been completed as of January, with progress being made towards the remaining third. So we took their advice, we took their guidance, we took their suggestions, and we've been implementing them. It details, this report details the positive impact that it's had on the council's effectiveness, in particular with respect to strengthening the effect of permanent political leadership and put in place changes to leadership at officer level, which I mentioned in this room in the chamber last week in my speech. So we are well on the way to implementing all the things they recommended we should do. But clearly, they told us we should get more financial strength. We've managed to get that through exceptional financial support, but we've got still a long way to go in terms of getting financially healthy. And there's some tough decisions coming up on that. SEND remains a challenge. And the other one that they recommended, and we are doing, is centralising transformation and drawing into the centre all projects across the organisation that could be considered to be transformation. Because while we had Gabrielle Mancini sitting on top of transformation, there were initiatives going on being launched across the council that frankly she should have had a line of sight over, and so should Councillor Vicky Paul as the portfolio holder. Meanwhile, people were going off and doing some interesting good things, but we needed centralisation, central learning and central exploitation of that benefit right across the council. So that's going on as well. So I'm asking you to note this report, but obviously I'll take comments from the executive, but I'm pleased with the progress we're making against them. I don't know, Chief Executive, we will ask them in again. They would come if we asked them. 18 months time or so, just because they've got a bit now of corporate knowledge of us and could come again and hit the ground running. Any comments from the executive? Any comments from the other side? Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I'm particularly interested in recommendation 2, which is about ensuring there is traction on the delivery of the Better Value Send programme, and have a plan to resolve the high needs block deficit. So we all agree that that's a real challenge for the council. It was a challenge for us previously, and it remains a strong challenge. In the action plan, there's lots of greens, lots of things completed, and some items outstanding. This report, and perhaps it's not intended to, but it doesn't scream out to me that council's getting on top of the deficit, and I'm concerned as well that meanwhile, while the council's addressing the challenge, there are challenges, there are increasing pressures coming from government policies and changes in funding, which are leading to changes in the way that parents want their children to be educated. For example, if you'll forgive me, 22% of children in independent schools are SEND. It's a huge proportion because parents who find that the only way they can get the children the education and the support they need is to go private, if you like. And with the VAT being imposed, it's expected that a lot of those SEND children will come the way of state education. So are we ready for those sorts of changes, those increased pressures, at the same time as dealing with what we've got?
Okay, well, I've got Councillor Codling and Anne-Marie Dodds in, and they'll tell you more about what trends we're seeing of children coming in from private schools at this stage, whether they have a SEND, whether they're SEND stated or not. This high needs block, you know as well as I do, when you say to us, are you getting on top of that? I don't think there's a council in the country getting on top of it. This government has to get on top of it somehow, and it's a big problem for them. So I don't think we're going to solve it in isolation. You know, they can tell us we've got to get on top of it, and they're right, but so is the government and so is the country. So I'll bring in Councillor Codling, and I'm sure Anne-Marie Dodds will.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you, Leader, that, yeah, we're not making any inroads like other councils across the country. The high needs block continues to grow. The question about children leaving private education and coming back into state education, we've not seen that happen yet. Whether it will, I think because the VAT came in at the beginning of this year, it's not, people are not going to move their children in year. No. It's whether the new year makes a difference. So, you know, we haven't seen that trend yet.
So, you know, that's as good an answer as we can give you. And, you know, if were you sitting here, the high needs block, you would be struggling to make a dent in it as well. Okay, any other comments? I think we're good on this. To note, we note this. No need to vote on the item, but we will revisit it from time to time. Thank you, members. So noted. Item 8 is the LGA peer review on children's safeguarding, and Councillor Codling is going to introduce this, I believe.
Yes, I would like to do that. Thank you. Do you need a seconder?
Yes, I do need to. I beg your pardon. So you're proposing it, and I need a seconder, Councillor Clark. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. As you know, children's services are regularly under the lens from various organisations, Ofsted, etc. So we invited in the LGA at the beginning of this year to come and review our family safeguarding service to help us prepare for those inspections and various things, but also to help ensure that we're doing the right thing by the children in our area. The report goes into our various strengths and where we need improvement. Some of the things there that were highlighted were an appetite for and enthusiasm for change, a very committed workforce and well connected to our communities. We had some good change projects, and the leadership was very strong, bringing together all children's services, co-working across the service for the benefits of children. And we had good relationships with our partner organisations, so health, schools, etc. It was recognised that we have financial uncertainty, as with all other councils across the country, and as we've just been talking about. And there are a number of challenges. Social workers having high caseloads, though, those have come down by quite a considerable amount. We also had some key recommendations. So we were asked to clarify and strengthen governance, and this is being explored through co-design and co-production under the new social care reforms, and exploring early help across the partnership and the offer of family hubs. The use of governance structures to develop resilience, not just a one council approach, but a whole West Berkshire approach. So we'll be setting up a child and young person panel with effect from September to ensure West Berkshire's approach in supporting children. There was the recommendation to review governance and programme management arrangements. And again, that links back to the children and young person panel. And there was a request to do and undertake a desktop review of children missing education. And on the heels of the LGA leaving, we actually had an Ofsted and CQC themed visit, and that was part of their visit, and so that has been completed. And finally, the last item was to do review our self-evaluation framework, so it fully reflected the achievements of the department and the development future, and that has been done and is ready. So when Ofsted do come knocking on the door, we should be ready. So I'd like to recommend this report.
Thank you very much. The second of Patrick Clark, will you come in now?
I'd be delighted. Yeah, I'll keep it brief. I'll talk very briefly on it. I think reflection is so important on all of the services we do, so we can work out how we can do things better and recognise where we're doing things well. And I know that we do this regularly anyway. But with the LGA, we do have that excellent resource to give us an objective view of where we can make improvements. And this document sets out very well what we can do to improve, as well as what we were doing well. I'm pleased to see that they note the strong political and officer level support for children's services. So knowledge is power.
Thank you. Okay, no other comments from the executive members. Councillor Bowe.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Codling. Very encouraging. Could you just looking at the, lost the place now. There was a point made about the role of the virtual school not being fully developed. Can you just kind of fill that out a bit for me? What does that mean, and what are the steps being taken to address that concern?
Give me a moment.
Phoning a friend, it's all right.
Sorry about that. I just needed to clarify that. It was very much around children with a social worker and developing the relationship with them, but also developing our 16+ offer.
Well, it says the role of the virtual school needs to be further developed.
Marie can answer it better than I can.
Through you, Chair, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Burke, it is in relation to, historically, the virtual school has worked solely with children who are looked after by the local authority, but recent requirements of the virtual school is also to work with children with a social worker. And what the peer reviewers wanted to see in that was a more developed approach to children with a social worker. Of course, the resource that we have to do that is one officer in the virtual school to work with all of our children who have a social worker, which you will understand is hundreds of children. So it's how we capture that work. We won't do that solely through the virtual school. We'll have to do that with a wider education offer, but it's the coordination of that. This is one view from the LGA. It's not a view that has been held with Ofsted, because we've discussed this in the annual conversation. So likewise, as Councillor Codlin mentioned, they wanted us to do a review, and they made some comments about our CEF. Ofsted's views on the very same CEF, that it was very good and it was very positive and they really liked it. So I think what we do is also need to take it into context that this is one specific set of views about where we were at any given time.
Thank you, Ms. Dodds. Thank you.
Okay, so the recommendations are, Councillor Marsh has gone. Review the report written by the OGA peer review team, give due consideration to areas for action, whilst also acknowledging areas of strength. Share the OGA peer review report with the relevant scrutiny committee. I suggest that will be your committee, Councillor Burke, to explore next steps in the ongoing development of children's social care, and agree to the West Berkshire Council's publication of the LGA report in line with the standing agreements with the LGA following the conclusion of the peer review. Does that find favour? All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. And item 9, Carer strategy. Councillor Clark introducing the report, seconded by Councillor Heather Codling. Thank you. Councillor Clark, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. This is the third time we've discussed this. We've discussed twice in the chamber so far. The first time with hearty support for the carer strategy. The second time with a little bit less enthusiasm, noting a few errors in the drafting of the report and a lack of detail in the section on young carers. I would, of course, like to get the support from my fellow councillors to publish this important strategy. We've read it to within an inch of its life to make sure there are no mistakes, which absolutely puts me as a hostage to fortune. So get checking, and we've also provided more information on the support we provide for young carers in response to Councillor Burke's requests. As always, I emphasise the importance of this strategy to recognise the importance of the contribution unpaid carers pay to West Berkshire. I'd like to endorse this strategy again, particularly with reference to Carers Week, which takes place in a couple of weeks on the 9th of June. So if we can get this agreed tonight, that would be fantastic and really adds momentum. We all want to work together to make a stronger community. We know carers play a fundamental role in looking after those in need, and we need to demonstrate how much we value that support. So I would appreciate the support from those councillors to publish this strategy.
Thank you for that. Councillor Codling.
Thank you, Leader. I don't have an awful lot to add other than the fact that it's a good report and a good strategy, I should say. And yes, it recognises those young carers, which is really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Another comments from executive members. Councillor Burke, does it pass muster this time round?
First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Clark for this report. I must apologise, though, that I haven't had time to proofread it, so I'm afraid you're on your own.
There's obviously proofread it. His finger went up quite quickly there. Councillor Sumner.
Well, thank you, Leader. Now then, I've had a conversation with Councillor Stewart, as I'm sure you won't be. This is where he starts to sweat. Look. And bear with me, because this is what Councillor Stewart said.
Should I take notes?
You'll be fine. She says, I'm pleased they've made the changes and that it can now be released.
So it passes muster with Councillor Stewart. Well done, and well done for challenging us. pushing back at us. And I think we did the right thing in just reflecting and getting it right. And that's what this process is about. I can remember saying, if we don't get it right, they'll just call it in. So we better get it right. So although you still can call it in, don't. It will come to your scrutiny committee anyway. So all those in favour? Thanks very much. And we now come to the final item 10, which is the members' questions. Councillor Gawley, are you happy to take Councillor McKinnon's question, who I'm probably sure Councillor Bowick will put it in Councillor McKinnon's absence, would you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we'll just wait for it to come up on the screen. It'll take a second or two. And I think you've got an answer. You were ready anyway, were you?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Burke / Councillor McKinnon, for your question. A total of 37% of residents were for the proposal, 5% were neutral, and 58% against. Do you have a supplementary question?
I think if Councillor McKinnon were here, he would be asking you about the actual questions that were put to residents, insofar as they weren't specific. The questions did not appear to be specifically reflecting the claim that residents supported the plan.
I think this is related to the pedestrianisation question, and there was only one question on that. There is a question further along from Mr. McKinnon, Councillor McKinnon, with regards to the waste strategy, and I think that might be where the multiple questions were asked. For pedestrianisation, it was only the one question that was asked at the time, and that was around favour and support.
Okay, it's you again now, Councillor Burke, to Heather Codley.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Bowick. The answer is the medium-term financial strategy assumes provision of approximately 300,000 of specific children's social care funding in 25-26 from central government. Do you have a supplementary question?
Have you received yet the 2.8 million transformation funding that was promised by government?
That's coming through at the moment, yes.
Coming through or has come through? Is it being drip fed?
Let me just check that one. Right, yes, of course. Thank you. Yes, it was a delayed start due to the sale. We're waiting on the sale of assets. So yes, we do have it now.
So we've managed to get the asset away. It could go into transformation. Thank you. The next one, if you're happy to take the other Councillor McKinnon one, Councillor Gawley, but we'll assume Councillor Bowick's placing the question.
Yeah, thank you again for the question. 71% of respondents disagreed that moving to free weekly black bin collections would help increase recycling or reduce the amount of waste households produce. However, 53% indicated they might be able to cope with a free weekly collection service if provided with the right information and support. The consultation also showed that 47% have some space in their black bin on collection days, and that was before we introduced plastic pots, tubs and trays at the curbside. Do you have a supplementary question?
Yeah, it's a 53%. Then, but when they say they could cope, they're not saying they support the change from 2 weeks to 3 weeks, are they?
No, they're saying they could make that change with support, and as part of the increase in recycling services, the extra capacity option, the educational sessions, we are providing that support, and we are here to help. And I think I've said this several times when it's been through scrutiny and EAG, so the Environment Advisory Group, that the council are here to make this a success with residents. So please do speak to us if there are concerns. Thank you.
Okay, the next one I'll take from Councillor Burke. The system used the day of the by-election was offered to us as a free trial by the established software leader in the modern election polling market. We previously used a similar system provided without cost by another company. To answer your question, we will not be entering into a contract to use this type of technology at present. But as polling solutions are successfully used by other local authorities, this may be something we revisit in the future. Do you have a supplement?
No, that's very clear. Thank you.
Next one up is you again to Councillor Burke to Councillor Justin Pemberton.
Yes, thank you for your question, Councillor Burke, and good evening to you. The council launched the new Community Hub Outreach Information Service this week, Monday the 19th of May, providing advice and support to residents across West Berkshire. Those residents will be able to access trusted, high-quality information and advice in existing venues such as leisure centres, libraries, village halls and at community group settings. The venues incorporated in the service will be known as community hubs. Do you have a supplementary question?
To be specific, where will the residents of Aldermaston Ward find a community hub?
I don't have the specific technical information relating to your own residents, Councillor Bowick, but what I can tell you is that as part of the scheme, there'll be a rolling programme of drop-in sessions, and those sessions, setting out where those sessions will take place, and they will be advertised via the council website, social media, and the usual round of posters and leaflets.
And I think that's the final one from me as well to Councillor Gaines.
Thank
question
you, Leader.
there.
Thank you, Councillor Burke. The Planning Enforcement Service receives a large number of inquiries, averaging a total of 46 cases per month from across the whole district. There are 2 enforcement officers in the team, supported by a manager, a recent organisational change. Each enforcement officer has a high number of cases on hand, which is challenging. But the team are highly experienced, dedicated, and doing an excellent job with the resources available. To manage the high caseload, it's necessary to implement a prioritisation system to ensure that the cases which are high risk with potential for significant or irreversible harm or impact on the environment or on our local community are prioritised for investigation. This means that some enforcement investigations may progress at a slower pace than expected to enable the officers to concentrate efforts on the most important investigations. The service recently implemented an online report a breach function, which assists with triaging requests for services. I can't say that word. Requests for services, and a refreshed enforcement plan is in development to assist with prioritisation. We're also looking to implement systems to support officers with the management of general correspondence and customer updates, which will support day-to-day activity and provide improved updates to our customers where possible. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Councillor Gaines. Very long answer.
I can put it in writing for you if you like.
Just to clarify for me, please, are things going to get better?
Yes, they are. As I said, it's a slight reorganisation. So now we've now got a manager who was actually an enforcement officer in the past. He's now managing that team. One of our team members has been recently promoted to senior enforcement officer because she's doing a fantastic job, as is the other officer. So yes, we are looking at technology to try and manage some of the administration sides of these things.
Thank you.
Members, we've now come to the end of the meeting, but I'd ask you to just, I'm going to close the meeting, but please remain in your seats. The Chief Executive has something to say. So the meeting is now concluded.
Right, okay, everyone. What we're going to do is we'll pack the room up, and if